Work has started on Plattsburgh's $10 million downtown revitalization project. The old highway oil gas station has been torn down to make way for a new park in the corner of the Durkee Street parking lot that'll be one of the centerpieces of the project. And Mayor Read joins us this week. Welcome, it's good to see you again.
Thank you, good to see you again.
So this is the first phase for the downtown revitalization. This will be a temporary park and green space until the city decides what to do with that space where the old highway oil building was.
Right, and it might not take all that long. We want people to be very comfortable in that space, but I think this bodes for more green space downtown. We're going to ask contractors to come in and start giving us their development ideas for the Durkee Street area. At the same time, we're just now embarking on a parking study because you can't do anything in that entire city block without figuring out where to relocate 360, 400 cars somewhere downtown. That's quite a challenge in itself. So there's a few pieces of the puzzle to put together, but we're starting in it right away.
And most likely, would they be parking lots that you would look to put elsewhere in the city, or would you be looking at a parking garage or structure?
You know, to find enough just acreage for parking lots would be very difficult downtown. It's at least within the one block or so that we've come to expect for convenience's sake. So it seems like parking garages make more sense. Even then, that footprint is still relatively large. And the cost for parking garages is somewhere around $20,000 a spot. So multiply that by 400 cars, you're looking at an $8 million price tag to solve the parking spot. On the other hand, we can do very little downtown until we squarely address the parking situation.
Would the city have $8 million to build a parking garage at this point?
The DRI left about $5 million in that category, so we could look at maybe talking to other entities like the county or taking some city bonding authority to pay for that as well to augment it. I think we're going to need to find some creative solutions to this.
So as the downtown revitalization moves forward, the city is facing some pretty serious financial challenges. How much of a bind is the city in, and how did we get here?
Half a dozen years or so, we lost a large amount of income from Falcon Seaboard, the pilot project just to the north of town. At the same time, the state told us we could no longer move so much funds from our water and sewer rate bases into the general fund. So we're exactly in the bind that we obviously would have been in.
And so the money's run out. The fund balance that the city has used for the past few years to help fill the holes is essentially gone. So this current budget turned out to be about a 6 3/4, almost 7% increase in the tax rate. What are you looking at for the coming year?
Normally the mayor puts out a budget in October. We really can't wait till October to have some more guidance. I think that we need to do some mid-year corrections, some reductions in expenses almost right away. So I'm actually proposing to put a budget together this month and give that to the council for their consideration that will show some revenue increase through a modest increase in taxes, but much more significant expenditure reductions to do that right sizing of revenue versus expenses we should have done years ago. Now we could have simply had a 30% tax increase or so to rewrite revenues and expenses, but I just think we're moving to the other side of the curve if we expect that increased tax rates of that order of magnitude would not result in a decreased population over time, which then gets us into this downward spiral that you see a lot of cities eventually get themselves into.
So what are you aiming for? What's acceptable to you as far as a tax increase?
The direction the council gave me is a 4.9% increase in taxes next year, accompanied with about $500,000 or $1 million of expenditure reductions this year, even though this year is halfway over, next year and the year after. So we have about $3 million of expenditure reductions, and most of them permanent reductions rather than just temporary delays till next year kinds of things that I'll have to do in my budget.
And where do you make up this money? Are we talking layoffs here? Are we talking not filling open positions? Where will you make up that $3 million?
Fortuitously, at the same time, the county has been given the mandate to organize cost sharing and shared services across the various municipalities in the county. The county doesn't necessarily have to sponsor them, but the county administrator has been asked to be the facilitator of these discussions. Now for the city, we literally function just right across the street from the county. So we believe that there's opportunities in things like assessment or HR or information technology, ways for us to do things together that hopefully will allow for some serious consolidations.
The city's been doing this with the town for a number of years now. Your predecessor, Jim Kelnon, did this with Bernie Bassett, and they looked to identify areas where they could possibly consolidate. They had group meetings of department heads. Did anything come out of that was concrete, where the town and city have actually taken steps to consolidate, or did they never quite get that far?
There's, memorandums of agreement where we might share, a plow or a dump truck here and there on a kind of emergency basis. No systematic cooperation has really emerged, though. I think within the town and the city, there's also great opportunities. The city, as you probably know, we run on water from 3 dams we maintain actually in the town of Plattsburgh. We can produce 3 times more water, 3 times as much water as we actually need ourselves. We can provide all the water for the city and the town and Beekmantown and Peru and et cetera, if we could just cooperate on more of a grand water authority. And the city would be happy to cooperate in that way. In the meantime, while we're trying to maintain and repair this facility is really overbuilt, the town is at the same time digging new wells and building new tanks, even though we've got millions of gallons of storage at access at any time. So there's definitely ways that we can actually shave $20 million or $30 million off the combined expenses of the city and the town.
And is it something that could happen sooner rather than later? Or is this years down the road?
I don't know why not. And my talks with the county on consolidation and shared services have been very productive. They've shown us pathways where we could actually start working together almost immediately.
Other than sharing water, what other areas of consolidation do you see?
The police and the sheriff's department and the city and the county have been talking about ways that they can work together. There's been all kinds of discussions for years in the county. From my time in county legislature, I remember talking about ambulance services working together, and fire services. There's already mutual aid agreements between municipalities, but we could expand upon those as well. We just have to kind of get away from that notion of turf and more think about the big picture. And once we start thinking about the big picture and then agree to share any efficiencies that occur equally between the various entities, I think that we'd be astounded at how many ways we can do things better.
There have been concerns raised in recent weeks about a bonus that goes to department heads, I guess twice a year.
Correct.
About $60,000 spread out among all of them. So not a huge amount of money, but a few $1,000s based on seniority every year. And that was a surprise to you? You hadn't heard of these bonuses before, and is this something that you and the council, given the city's financial crisis right now, will look at whether these should continue?
That'll have to be a decision of the council. And you're right, I was unaware of these longevity bonuses until all of a sudden a bunch of paperwork came to my desk to sign all these bonuses. It all dated back to a 1990 council decision to offer these longevity increases every year. I recommend you pay them this time, but for next time it's going to incur another $60,000 in another 6 months. Decide what you would like to do. Would you like to keep this program? Would you like to move it more to a merit-based program where we actually do annual evaluations of department heads, et cetera? Think about what you'd like to do. Reflect on this for the next 6 months. It got kind of twisted that people were taking away their bonuses and all that kind of stuff. You know how that can happen.
That's just one of the things that's been rather contentious with the council over the past several weeks. The other was whether some department heads were told that their jobs may be in jeopardy as consolidation talks are ongoing with the county and the town. Has that made it difficult to address the fiscal crisis? It seems that relations with some of the councilors have deteriorated.
Yeah, I think it's an unfortunate distraction. I mean, obviously we're going to have to make some very, very, very difficult decisions, and I think that puts a fair amount of stress on councilors or on department heads that know just what kind of difficult decisions are down the road. So this, I think, in that kind of environment, people just glob on to things to get angry about. First of all, I'm an optimist for the city. We've got the DRI. I think we can put our fiscal picture back in order. I think we really got out of whack for a number of years, but there's no reason why we can't fix that now. So I'm very optimistic about it. but we're weathering some pretty difficult storms. So unfortunately, I think that the stress is taking the worst. And I think there's others that have a little bit of a political ambition going on as well. And unfortunately, they're all timed when we really should be doing our due diligence to try to figure out how to get ourselves out of a difficult financial pinch.